morning and welcome to Saline County's FAQ Friday. We're coming to you from Studio B at the Salina Media Connection. We're bringing you all the information you need about the services available to you from Saline County. I'm your host, Melissa McCoy, and today we're taking a short detour from the Health Department series to talk to Ms. Hannah Stambaugh, Deputy County Administrator, and Alan Talkington, Senior Consultant with TUSA Consulting.
TUSA, yes.
TUSA Consulting. And we're going to learn a little bit about a new radio system has come to Saline County just this week. Is that right, Hannah?
Today.
Awesome.
We went live at 9 o'clock this morning.
That's amazing. So we're not rocking out to this radio system. We're not listening to rock music and jamming. What are we doing with it?
This is strictly for public safety. So all of the dispatching for police, fire, EMS, rural fire, animal shelter, they're on there too. So it's strictly for our public safety agencies.
Okay, and so if I understand this correctly, this whole process began in 2015. Can you tell me about that?
The bigger process started in 2015. We really realized there was a huge problem back in 2012 when we were required to do something called narrowbanding, and it just completely tanked our coverage across the whole entire county. Well, when our public safety agencies can't talk to each other, that becomes an issue. When we can't dispatch police officers and firefighters and EMS to your house. That's a huge safety issue, not only for our public safety personnel, but then also the citizens that live here. So we really started exploring different options and knew that we needed a new radio system at some point in time. So we said from the very get-go that we needed to have this huge collaborative effort between all of our public safety agencies, and that was kind of my job, just to make sure everybody got to the table together and everybody was on board of what we needed to do. And we really determined that we needed to know what some of the root causes were, but then also what some of our options were. So we decided to hire a consultant, and TUSA ended up being our winning consulting firm that got from a request for proposals. And how long have we been together, Alan?
Yeah, like I said, over 3 years it seems like now. I mean, I think we started in 2018. I think April or March 2018 was when we kicked our portion of this off.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the radio system. Did this cost us a lot of money? How does that work?
Well, so after we did a needs assessment and really kind of evaluated what some of our options were, we determined that we needed to submit a request for proposals for radio systems. So TUSA helped us tremendously with that, and we issued it. We ended up getting 2 vendors that submitted 2 proposals each. So, and if you can only imagine, these proposals were probably thousands of pages long.
Yeah, I think both of them, or all 4 of them, were over 1,000 pages long.
So, Alan, is that how you came in? You helped us interpret those many, many thousands of pages and figure out what was going to work best for Saline County?
Yeah, so I started actually in the beginning in the needs assessment, I actually wrote the initial needs assessment that said, here's where the county's at, here's the pros, here's the cons, here's what's working, here's what's not working. And then we developed options that the county could look at, which then led us to the proposal piece of this. And then, yes, participated and was the primary consultant to help review, evaluate, help educate the team on things that they need to look at for that, and then do the price comparison. One of the key things is that we separate technical scores from pricing, because we joke around, if it doesn't do what you need it to do, what good is the price, right? If it doesn't work where you need it to work, what good is the price? So we judged the scores of the technical side first to make sure it was technically compliant to meet the needs of the county, and then did a comparison of the pricing, and then those were weighted and added together to create a total score, which led us to where we're at now.
That sounds fairly complicated.
It's a long process, and Hannah and I went through hours and hours of conversation to get it right. But we've been in the business for 30 years and have done this a lot, so we tried to bring as much of our expertise to help the county out as possible.
I had to be educated on hot dip galvanized steel.
That was our favorite phrase: hot dip galvanized steel.
Hot dip galvanized steel.
Yeah.
That sounds like an appetizer somewhere.
It should be.
Yeah.
So cost. You mentioned cost and the price point, and making sure we had kind of wedged that teeter-totter where we needed it to be. Where did we end up?
So, as I said before, this was for all of our public safety agencies.
Right.
And we have a combined dispatch center that dispatches for both the county and the city of Salina. So we knew that this was going to have to be a joint project between the city and the county. So once we got the pricing back, that was a big job of mine, was with the help of TUSA to even look through the pricing and figure out, okay, how much is the city's portion, how much is the county's portion. Fortunately, the county realized right off very early on that this was going to be a county-wide system. So they were comfortable with taking on a lot of the infrastructure costs as far as the tower costs and everything like that. And the city really focused on their subscriber radios for their public safety agencies and then all of the infrastructure for the dispatch center itself and the backup dispatch center. So all in total, we ended up with the contract for the infrastructure and subscribers and all the dispatch center was just about 15.7 million total. But the thing you have to remember, that is for 15 years. That includes not only all the stuff to build the system, all of the radios to go on the system, but also maintenance for a period of 15 years. So it seems like that's a lot of money, but that is spread out quite a bit, and to make sure that the system works for that long. This is a huge investment.
And we when we design this system, we take into account things like, there's one or two tornadoes that happen to roll through Kansas every once in a while,
Periodically.
Yeah, periodically. So when we put together the building specifications, we put together generators, the tower strength, they had to withstand 150 mile an hour straight line winds. They had to be able to, take power outages that extended over 8 hours long. These types of things that we had to account for. So when you look at the cost of it, yeah, that may seem like a big number, but again, it's spread out over 15 years. There's some paid up front to build it, and then there's maintenance dollars paid over the years to maintain those generators, the air conditioning, all the batteries, all that stuff. But what that means is that this system will last through thick and thin, will be able to withstand huge storms, ice storms. We talked, funny enough, with this last year, the rolling ice storms in February that just happened a few months ago, part of what we did actually came to fruition and helped the city in its long-term look that even the power outages that were occurring, everything from the city kept working. And so from the radio system side. So those are the things that we look into that cost. It's not just, people think, they see a cell phone and they think, well, whatever happens behind the scenes, whatever, I don't care about that. But this all goes into making sure that, when the ice storm hits and somebody gets hurt, that those ambulances and the firefighters can communicate with dispatch and know where to go and get out to you.
Right, because in Kansas, weather isn't a matter of
Never.
if,
Yeah.
it's a matter of when.
Yes.
So we're going to experience those things in the next 15 years. Probably, maybe even the next 15 minutes. Who knows? This is Kansas.
Yep.
And that cost was split between, I see, the city, the county, and rural fire as well.
So rural fire's costs were strictly for just their subscriber radios. So this is a brand new system. So none of the radios that we had before work anymore. So everybody had to get brand new radios.
Okay. And so what's the next step? We went live today.
Yep.
Well, at this recording, we'll air on Friday. Today is actually Tuesday, so we went live on Tuesday. And then what happens next?
Yeah. So what it is, the system actually has 3 tower sites that the county purchased. The main tower site to get live and going is here in Salina to give coverage to the primary population center here, and it was already built. The KHP actually owned the tower and gave an agreement to the city and the county to use it. So that expedited the process, which is also why the vendor that won was chosen, is because they could do it so much quicker because they had the relationship with the state to join that site. So getting the system live, there are now 2 more tower sites that need to be built out, one near Brookville, one near Assyria, if everything goes well. We're still working out some of the details of that, but that's where it looks like it's heading right now. And so if that is the case, then what will happen is once those 2 sites are done, the county will have 95.5% coverage, meaning officer, firefighter, EMT could be outside with a handheld radio strapped to their hip on their belt with a microphone on their shoulder, and 95.5% of the county measured. It's not just a guess. We actually go out and measure it. That radio will work both directions. And then if you get into a vehicle, it's even bigger because they're higher up antennas, more power in the vehicle, things like that. So On top of that, it ties in with the rest of the state. So one of the big differences is that the old system, if you wanted to talk to a neighbor, it was very cumbersome. It didn't always work. Now it's very integrated to where you can roam literally anywhere in the state, and your channels, your ability to talk back to dispatch is working. So the city is very proud of their regional support offerings that they have with the fire services and law enforcement. And so now they can go to neighboring counties. If there's big, tornadoes, say in Wichita or Dodge City or something like that, their radios can now go all the way there. They don't have to worry about, can I communicate, things like that. It will just work anywhere in the state. So it's a very integrated solution for the next step process of helping out throughout the state.
Well, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I think the other thing that is very attractive to both fire and law enforcement is the ability to communicate with the Kansas Highway Patrol. Obviously, we have 2 major interstate highways that intersect here. Accidents happen, chases happen, and we have had several incidences on our old system where a high-speed chase is coming through and our deputies couldn't talk to the highway patrol. That's a dangerous situation to be in. Now it'll be seamless operations, so they can work together. And I think the highway patrol's ecstatic about this opportunity too, because even the coverage that we're adding helps them in their coverage. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah, and that's a key point, is that this was not just a collaborative effort with the city and the county. This was also a collaborative effort with the state. And so as Hannah was saying, the state troopers and state agencies can roam onto these towers. You can roam onto their towers. So it really becomes a unified public safety effort to help in events that happen here. So if you have a tornado that happens here, neighbors can come help you, and their radios will work here seamlessly.
That is amazing, actually.
Super excited about it.
How about all the folks that, we stay at home and listen to the scanner, and that's kind of the fun pastime that we have.
We've had this discussion.
Yeah. So, needless to say, we understand and appreciate transparency that people look for and the ability to hear what's going on. I mean, you just want to know what's going on in your city,
Right.
If there's a pursuit coming down your road, you probably want to get out of the road there, And if there's things happening with neighbors or family members, people want to know that. So there are a variety of different things that are going to happen. First of all, there are scanners that can scan this system. The system is what's called a P25 or APCO Project 25 radio system, and there are scanners. They're a little more expensive now. We're talking in the multi-$100 range for a scanner. It's not like the old days where you go to Radio Shack and get one. They're a little bit more intricate, and the programming to make them work is a little more difficult, but you can do it. However, this system includes things like encryption, where there are certain sensitive channels, things you might consider like a drug task force or something like that, where there is going to be some encryption to help officer safety, to help scene security, where, somebody they're looking at can't be listening to the scanner and say, hey, guys, they have our house surrounded. Sorry, get out of here, So there are some operational importance or important points to that. I do believe there are going to be a lot of unencrypted channels as well, so it's not as though the system is going to be completely quiet. I still think that the county and the city appreciate some of the transparency that is desired from citizens, but it'll be kind of a mixture.
Okay, so we can still sit back and listen to what's going on.
I'm sure there are going to be people that serve internet feeds where you can get on the website and listen to what's going on in Saline County and Salina. I'm sure that's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not. So I want to go back to cost. So this was over $15 million. Now, did we just go into a bank somewhere and pulled out the gold bars that Hannah has stashed in the back, or how did we pay for that?
So, as we said in the very beginning, this has been a project for many, 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 many years. We knew that there was going to be a fairly large cost to it. So the county has been fortunate enough that we really have been saving for this purchase for quite some time. We did bond the project through a lease with creating a public building commission, but that was just more for a little bit of security purposes, just for financial security purposes, and just to better streamline the projects, because we didn't have the full $15 million. We had a good chunk of it, so we still needed to finance a little bit of it. But the good thing is that we've been saving so much every year that this is not a project that will raise taxes, because we've already been saving that same amount. So our lease payments, I guess you could say, are the same amount that we've been saving every single year. So it really has been a very seamless financial transaction, I guess you could say, to make this happen. Same thing with the rural firefighters. I mean, just all of the 6 rural fire districts and in the city of Syria and city of Gypsum, just their radio costs alone were almost $1 million. But they have been saving for several years. So again, we knew this was coming. And just like any personal finances, we've got to be, responsible of tax dollars too. But even my personal finances, if I know I'm going to buy a car, I want to save up for it. So same thing. We knew we were going to buy a radio system, so we wanted to save up for it. So I think that's probably the best part. And I'm really proud of the county for realizing that need, especially our elected officials. They've been engaged in the process for a long time. So they knew that this was coming down the pike, and so they prepared for it appropriately.
And I could just say from an outsider's perspective, we don't always see kumbaya and, shaking hands and hugs. And this has been one of the best collaborative efforts I've seen in a long time, where the city, the county, the rural fire districts, the neighbor KHP, state, there was a real effort by everybody to make this work. There wasn't pushback. There wasn't political infighting, little fiefdoms or kingdoms that people were trying to control. Everybody was really on board.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, what didn't I ask? What else do you want to make sure that the Saline Countyans know? Hannah? Alan?
I don't know. I think the cool thing about it is just how excited the individual first responders are. I mean, that alone is...
They've had a rough time recently.
They have. I mean... They know that the old system just was not doing it, and I was talking to a deputy just a few days ago because they've been playing around on the system for a couple of days just to kind of get used to the new radios, and he told me, he goes, gosh, it's just so clear. I mean, I can actually hear people. I'm not, muffled. Dispatch can hear me. I mean, he was just so excited over something as simple as that gosh.
Yeah. I think especially scanner people like you're talking about, they'll notice a clarity change. The old system had a lot of, static and stuff. And so the audio is going to be clear. From a public safety side, like I talked about, that 95%, we aim for even more than that, not just on the street, but inside people's houses, where we know that if you get an EMT that gets called to go into your house, that, within a huge percentage of the county, that radio is going to work. In fact, we went and did testing the other day to prove it, because one of the things we as a consultant tell the vendors is, I love that you put that on paper, but I want to see it. I want the rubber to hit the road. And we literally rubber hit the road, drove around the county. 2 teams of people. Had Sheriff Solden was with us. Fire Chief Abker was with us. We had a bunch of people represented from the city and the county driving around actually testing it. So it wasn't just, saying it could do it, but actually proving it could do it. And so I really think that, when somebody dials 911 and they need somebody there to help them, there's going to be help that can get there, and they'll be able to call for backup, call for assistance, and the radios are really going to work where they need them to work, when they need them to work.
Wow, that's going to make a huge difference in public safety and just quality of life in Saline County.
Yeah.
For those spouses and families of the public safety, I think they're going to feel better. Firefighters in a building that's on fire trying to help put that building out, they're going to be much more confident that their, husband, wife, mother, father is going to get home that night because they can get assistance instead of getting inside the building and can't talk out.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Alan Talkington of TUSA and Hannah Stombaugh of Saline County. Thank you for coming on our show. And I hope you tune in next week when we resume our health department series right here on FAQ Friday.
Thank you.